Alrighty, episode number 20 of West Coast Wednesday, where I'm going to be giving you my raw and emotional thoughts. Because it pretty much there was some emotions kicking in, and I'll tell you why there were some emotions kicking in regarding the race at Gateway, and it pertains to the championship trail on both ends. Now, there are some changes on the schedule. I said that I was hoping to get the Evergreen highlights done. That isn't going to happen, unfortunately, yet. We have a month until the next round in Meridian. So when I get back I'll be going to Portland to cover the next IndyCar race because that's been my focus, is to cover the races at IndyCar, the last three. This is the second of the three coming up. But don't worry, next Wednesday, you will be seeing the highlights of Evergreen, and then the following, you'll be seeing the highlights from Gateway. It's just, bear with me with this one. It's just, gotta put on the focus on my future, and also focus on other stuff that are priority at this moment of time. Of course, this is just a side thing, and it's going to be a side thing for pretty much the duration of the year. Meridian onward should be pretty easy. Phoenix is going to be different, though, because that will be the final race of the championship trail. And it ultimately comes down to whether or not the title is decided or not. We'll see. And based on after what happened, and some of y'all saw, the championship trail on both ends is practically over. It's done for. We pretty much can safely say at this moment, on the east side is Sam Mayer, and on the west side, Derek Kraus. The West have some leverage, though. There's still anything can happen because they have 4 more races. Meridian, Roseville, which is All-American, Kern County, Bakersfield, and Phoenix. A lot can happen. A lot can go down in those 4 races, whereas the East is dead in the water. Mayer is pretty much locked up this championship. I believe he can lock it up after Loudon or at the start of Dover. That's all they have left, Loudon and Dover. There's 2 more races down there. So, of course, here's why. Here's why. The moment lap 1, turn number 3, I was in turn number 3 taking photos. I even have photos of the incident. It's on my Twitter, at the LT Files. Please do give it a look. That is the only thing I've been plugging these days. Please give it a look for those who even watch, which are very few, and I know it is very few. Tough break for Ruben Garcia Jr., Tanner Gray, and Max McLaughlin, especially Max, because from my vantage point, when I look back at the footage, that was all on Max McLaughlin. It's kind of like, that's the second time he's done this to the combo race. He did it to Derek Kraus. Fortunately, Kraus was able to turn around for this one and knocked himself out. It hurt Ruben Garcia, and it ruined Tanner Gray's shot. Disappointing. It's an understatement. Just disappointing for all accounts on that one. But for whatever reason, when they got it all repaired, they were actually significantly faster than Todd Souza and Takuma Koga. And boy, Todd Souza and Takuma Koga were abysmal. They were worse than Ron J. And here's what I mean by worse than Ron J. Early in the season on the West Coast, Ron J got in everybody's way. Completely in everybody's way when it comes to lap traffic. You remember the earlier episodes, lap traffic was a problem I had. They would not get out of the way. And from my vantage point, I took photos in turn 3, took photos in turn 1. And boy, a good catch-up battle between Sam Mayer and Chase Caber was ultimately ruined completely because of 2 damn lap cars. Period. Sure, the caution came at a perfect time. That's when Tanner Gray had that tire go down. Otherwise, it would have been a hell of a battle to see how could Sam Mayer catch Chase Caber, who was dominating the race up to that point. Let's backtrack a little bit. It's just, you don't see that in the East. You don't have really, really slow cars in the East, to my knowledge. You don't. They're all in similar level playing field. Whereas the West, you know who are not going to be competitive. Travis Milburn had no issues with that. I don't know what happened with Souza's car. You view it how you will when it comes to Takuma Koga. But Josh Vanopoulos and the whatever car number that it was, 38, 36. I know there was John Wood in the 38, so it's not 38. The 31, it looked like a 36. This is the third time in a span of a week that the number changed. It was 34 on Friday at Evergreen. 35 and whatever, 35 at the start. There was 34 34 at Evergreen, and then 36. It's not Taylor Canfield, it was Josh Fenn. At this moment, they gotta figure out what number they want. They've been switching numbers. They've just been, practically taping numbers. He did not really. He was not a guy in the way. He was not in the way of the lead lap cars. He was not in the way. I even saw him pass Tanner Gray. Period. So, to the point of outright. That's why people just don't talk about the West. They mostly focus on the East when it comes to the Gander Outdoors Truck Series and the future prospect. Because at the East, we have a level playing field, whereas the West is McAnally and Sunrise Ford and nobody else, really. Without Levine Racing, it's really nobody else but those two teams, Ford and McAnally. That's it. Whereas on the East, you have DGR, Visconti when they run. Parker Retzlaff had a pretty competent race, I'll tell you that, in the 74. What else? Sam Hunt, and who knows what Sam Hunt's future is going to be, especially with those engines, whether the Yates is going to last or the Ilmore is going to kick everybody's butt in 2020. They have the option of Yates or Ilmore. It depends on what goes competitive and what can they afford. Sam Hunt could be in jeopardy. I mentioned that a couple episodes ago, and it's the engine, not whatever I said, because that was a blatant error on my end. But boy, that was gut-wrenching and frustrating. Just seeing how Souza and Koga cost dearly Sam Mayer a run before the caution came out. That was unacceptable, period. Josh Vanopoulos has pretty much taken over Ron J's role of the caution clock at this point. He's in the closing minutes of the race, and here's why I was closing minutes. There were so many cautions from the wreck in turn 3, Trevor Huddleston blowing an engine, Brittany Samora blowing an engine again. She blew one in qualifying. And I still believe if it was not for those engine problems, she would be right up there. Who knows? Maybe third or fourth in points. Maybe third or fourth in points after what happened to Huddleston. Had she not had the engine failure and qualifying, I don't know how she would have done in the race. I don't know if there's anything to judge by it. But boy, that Rookie of the Year battle that has so much potential, so much promise. It's Sonoma onwards, it's just been aggravating. It has been aggravating to see that Rookie of the Year battle completely dead in the water and slipped away. Jagger Jones has done a phenomenal job. Don't get me wrong. I've been constantly putting him over as the guy who should be winning. He should have a win already. No doubt about it. It was also amazing seeing him drive Parnelli Jones's Roadster in the Vintage Indy event at Gateway. That was nice. That was a pretty cool, epic moment to see that. He had a quiet race. He had a pretty quiet race. Nothing spectacular. Of course, when it comes to the West Side, who did well? Derek Krause. He finished second. He was right around the top 4 or 5 the entire time. He was battling with Deegan and David Gilliland. And yes, David Gilliland ran his first K&N race since 2012 at Sonoma, with which he won. Ty Gibbs was under the weather. There was I felt like whether it's legit or not, obviously when it comes to under the weather, you question it whether it's reasonable or unreasonable. And the reason why there was some head scratcher for me, because he won the ARCA race at Gateway. He won the ARCA race at Gateway. And then once I found out the reason that he was not feeling well the night before on Friday, so they built the seat for David Gilliland. They have everything ready. They even have Gilly on the door, down. He had a good showing. I thought he was probably going to smoke the field somehow, some way. It would have been something if he actually won that damn thing. He did okay. He did pretty well for a guy that just last minute 11th hour ordeal. But boy, the battle with Krause and Deegan, it's safe to say Krause has pretty much almost locked off the championship. With Huddleston's engine problem, Jagger Jones really non-factor, and then the cut tire from Deegan after she and Krause battled in the turn number 1. As soon as I noticed, I was heading to turn 1. As soon as I noticed that the 19 was no longer in the top 10, I knew something happened. And I said, "Well, you can pretty much bet your butt that at Kern County, there's a good chance the championship will be locked up at Kern." But yeah, the West title is pretty much... This was the one race you did not want to have a bad outcome. We're this deep into the season. Huddleston inch failure. Very rare to see that from a top team like Bob Brucati. Very rare. You don't see that. Once that happened, I knew the title chase was done for Huddleston. He was one that I thought maybe there's a minuscule chance he could put a great rally. Nope, not happening now. It's done for. He's lost too much ground. He's now 4th in points. He dropped 2 spots in the championship quest. And on the east side, with McLaughlin out, Chase Cabre dominated up until car problems kicked in big time. And Cabre had problems, and I knew it's like, yep, Mayer's locked up the championship. 2 races ago, 30-point lead. He's locked up the championship. It's over for Cabre. Any shot of catching him is over. That would have been even worse if he actually won. That was Sam Mayer. But on the final restart, Phenopolis spun. What was it? No, the penultimate restart. Phenopolis spun, no caution. Then Phenopolis had a problem. Caution came out. And it came down to a 2-lap shootout. Mayer had it in the back, but Derek Kraus with a tremendous push on Spencer Davis, the guy that dominated Bristol, until Mayer rallied back. Because remember, Mayer dumped Cabre, got the penalty as a result. That was Spencer Davis. So Spencer Davis had a great restart with a little help from Kraus and won the race. Second career K&N Pro Series victory. His first since 2016. Tremendous victory for Red Jones Racing, the number 30 squad. Big win for him. Took one away from Sam Mayer. So it could have been much worse for Cabre as far as his title bid. But at this rate, it's done for. It is done for. The only way Cabre will win the championship if he wins out and Mayer gets taken out on the opening lap. Only way he'll catch up that easy. So the East Side battle, here are the championship standings with just only 2 rounds to go. Only 2 more races left in this championship quest. So here we go. Sam Mayer has a 30-point lead over Chase Cabre. Third is Spencer Davis, 43 behind Tanner Gray, who's sitting 4th. Max McLaughlin, 5th. Derek Kraus is still in 6th. He could very likely end up 4th in the championship if he were to run the last 2 races. We'll see about that. Maybe he could. We'll see. He's now focusing on the West, of course. Ruben Garcia, 7th. Colin Garrett, 8th. Haley Deegan has moved up to 9th. Drew Dollar, who has not driven the last 2 races, he is in 10th. Brittany Zamora is 11th in the championship trail, who's not in this top 10 battle, but it's worth pointing out. Drew Dollar is still with DGR Crossing. He just ran the super late model race instead. The 54, of course, it was meant to be Ty Gibbs, but it wasn't because of illness that kept him out. So here are the results of the Monaco Cocktails Gateway Classic 125 presented by the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame at World Wide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Yes, that is how it is officially turned as. So yeah, there you go. Anyways, here are the final results. Spencer Davis won, Derek Kraus is 2nd, David Gilliland 3rd, Sam Mayer dropped to 4th, Parker Retzlaff in 5th in the Visconti machine, Ruben Garcia Jr., after that opening lap crash, he recovered tremendously to finish 6th, Jagger Jones 7th, Colin Garrett 8th, Haley Deegan can only move up to 9th after that late race caution, and rounding out the top 10 is Todd Souza. Souza ended up on the lead lap, so did Takuma Koga. There were 11 cars. Only 98 out of the 125 laps were completed because of the IndyCar race. It ended early, due in most part for the cautions. Josh Vanopoulos in 12th, Chase Cabre 13th, Travis Milbourne 14th. He is the first couple of cars that fell out. He fell out late with an electrical problem. Tanner Gray 15th, Brittany Zamora 16th, John Wood 17th, Trevor Huddleston 18th, and Max McLaughlin rounding out the field in 19th. There were 7 cautions for 32 laps in a race that lasted 90 minutes and 7 seconds. So, and as far as that West Championship trail during the break, here are the title chase right now. Derek Kraus has a 29-point advantage over Haley Deegan. Jagger Jones 33 behind. Trevor Huddleston 34. There's still some races to go, but with the fields being the way it is on the West Coast, that is going to be an insurmountable task. Brittany Zamora is now 5th, 76 behind Todd Souza, 83. There's a chance that Souza could catch that Zamora for that top 5 spot. Travis Milburn is 7th, Takuma Koga 8th, Matt Levine and Cody Vanderwall round out the top 10. John Wood is 11th. He is 33 markers behind to get in that top 10. and where the possibility of Vanderwall maybe coming back to Phoenix, that battle for 10th could get pretty interesting. Sure, if Wood ends up in the top 10, it was given to him. Let's just be honest. It's given to him if he gets there. That was my fear with Ron J. That was the big concern with Ron J. But Ron J has not showed up since Douglas County. And probably the way he ran at Sonoma and at Douglas County is probably for the best he's not showed up again. At least Taylor Canfield has cleaned up his act. Remember Canfield and Meridian a year ago? 4 times he spun. 4 times he spun. He cost Derek Kraus the victory. That was a runaway race for him. A complete runaway race. And then Canfield was spinning all over the place at Meridian. John Wood cars were cursed and all that. Boy, am I fired up about this race. This is the raw and emotional thoughts of this gateway race because I can't believe what just happened. Huddleston blew an engine. Early in the race, a lap after the restart, it just blew up. It blew up completely. What happened to that car? How did it blow up? And it's little to be known that what happened in the K&N race might have hindered Scott Dixon's a bit of a 6th IndyCar championship. Some people thought it was the pyro of the 3Y salute, but according to Mike Hall, it appears that the K&N race with the debris and all that might have hurt Scott Dixon in that champion as far as him being a title contender, right? And on the IndyCar side, it's essentially Joseph Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud, Alexander Rossi. Dixon still has a fairly decent chance with the double points factor in, but that's going to be a long shot. Same with Will Power. At this point, Dixon and Will Power are not going to be in this championship quest on the IndyCar side. By the way, Takuma Sato won the race, just barely hanging on to defeat Ed Carpenter, and Tony Kanaan rounded out the podium. Go see that race. Also, go see this K&N race at Gateway. If you want nostalgia, you get to hear Bob Jenkins. Sure, the PA crew, from what I heard, they sounded lost. They sounded lost when I look back. Like, did NASCAR not, the official whoever, didn't told them that the race was shortened due to time constraints because of the IndyCar race coming up? On NASCAR Home Track's Twitter said there were 5 minutes remaining. And I knew it's like, I would not be surprised that this race would end about halfway or past halfway or whatever it might be. I knew I had that feeling they were going to cut the race short to stay on schedule, and which ultimately they did. Sure, that bit Sam Mayer, he went from the lead to finishing 4th. But for his case, this is a huge championship points day. It was a huge points day for him, period. Because he's a step closer to locking up that title come at Loudon or at the start of Dover. It could be a Derek Thorne situation, fire the engine up, or whatever shows up on the entry list. He locked it up just by showing up. That's just how it is in the world of K&N. This race was both championship implication, drama, but also frustrating. You can tell the gloves are off. The frustration is there. Well, not because I want a good championship. It's mostly I feel bad for those competitors, especially what happened to Britt. That's 2 engines that failed her. 2 cars that failed her in a span of 5 hours. 4 and a half to 5 hours. It failed on her. That should not. And then I think to say, if you want to talk about curse paint skis, that black 99 Napa filters is a curse to her. When she drives the orange and nails 99, nothing really happens. It's just been the case. It's just been that way. Because I felt like after Tucson, we were going to have a hell of a Rookie of the Year battle. It was going to come down to Phoenix. But then Sonoma happened, Iowa happened, and now this. Those 3 things had not happened. We could probably, like I said, she could be 3rd or 4th in points. Or it could be a 5-person battle for the title. But it's just not been the case. And now with summer pretty much done for, the summer curse is done for Deegan. You can safely say it was a summer curse for her. It was a rotten summer. Because you'd think Colorado's going to be the mass momentum booster. She won the pole at Sonoma. But she has not capitalized since then. Since that pole, since that dump and run she did on Cross of Colorado, She's not delivered. A lot of people know that. I know that. She's not delivered. Krause is the one that's been consistently delivering. And what happened with McLaughlin, when he and McLaughlin in Iowa, that told me, yep, he's got the championship. He turned that shit around. That was finally, excuse my language, that's the one that told me that he finally capitalized on a misfortune. Because that was a misfortune. Sure, he got a lap back because of the break. But at least he recovered tremendously. Look at Ruben Garcia Jr. Sure, he scraped the wall. He had minor. That's why his car was still competitively fine compared to Gray and McLaughlin. But still, championship's done for. Unless not last year's curse and bad luck happens to Kraus, which I don't see it happening. This championship has been decided. This race right there, I said it, the most anticipated. It was. But it was a lot of heartbreak. A lot of heartbreak for McLaughlin, heartbreak for Cabry, heartbreak for Huddleston, heartbreak for Deegan. Yes, she's second in points, but she's 29 behind. Kraus extended his points lead. And we know, who knows how Kraus will do in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series, whether he'll be a McAnally or a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck. If McAnally wants to field him a truck full-time in 2020, I say they should go for it. Why not? Why not? Because if you see what was going on with Todd Gilliland and Harrison Burton, they didn't make the playoffs. Gilliland is so not being welcomed back next year at KBM. And then watch them do phenomenal at DGR. That's what's more than likely gonna happen. It's not been confirmed, but after what happened in Mosport, Gilliland shot the bed again or had another bad race. The writing on the wall is there. He's not going to be welcome back to Kyle Busch Motorsports. It's just not going to happen. Harrison Burton, he may be okay. He'll be fine. He's done well in Xfinity. He's gotten a shot in Xfinity. Let's not forget it. He's had a shot. He's done well. Sure, the incident with Paul Menard didn't cost him dearly, allowed him, but he's shown it. I hope to see the same thing for Kraus, because if Kraus wins the championship, he moves up the trucks full-time in 2020, and whatever happens. Can he break the mold of that? Because there is a 16 Napa curse, too. Look at the drivers that drove the 16 Napa car over the years. Sean Woodside, Eric Holmes, Brendan Gong, Austin Cameron, Todd Gilliland, Brandon McReynolds. Out of all of the bunch, Brendan Gong, you could arguably say he was the most successful of them all, because at the very least, he delivered big time in trucks. He was pretty successful in Nationwide / Xfinity. Sure, Cup was not good. And he's done quite well with that Beard car, the 62 at the plate races. Look at Talladega, he got a top 10. You see, he even said, if he wins the 500, he's out of here. He's been pretty much the most successful guy in that McAnally cam. When you look back, and in hindsight, of all the drivers that won the championship or were pretty modestly successful, or who even drove the car, period, Brendan Gaughan is the most successful one to this day. Kraus could break that mold. Who knows what he'll do with it? What his future unfolds. But Kraus is definitely going to be national bound. 2020. It's just going to happen. Sam Mayer still got a couple years on the east side before he turns 18. He's already got a truck start at Bristol. He was doing pretty well up until he had his DNF, or rough outing, more or less rough outing in that regard. But boy, a lot went down at Gateway. A lot went down. You can safely say this is pretty much a review without the highlights. I'm still wondering how am I going to execute the highlights. I might as well just do both highlights. It's just exclusive highlights to just give my thoughts on some of the clips and everything. But boy, do my heart go out for all those title contenders, whether it's the championship or rookie of the year. Boy, this was a rough outing, especially for those West drivers. A rough one. Period. The East smoked them both combo races big time. No questions asked. They got smoked, eviscerated by those East drivers this year, those combo races. Whereas a year ago, the West dominated the Gateway race. Kraus and the both Sunrise cars, then driven by Derek Thorne and Ryan Partridge. They came and arrived at Gateway. This year, no one showed up other than Deegan and Kraus. No one. Well, it's unfair to say that too because Huddleston never really got a shot because the engine flew up. And who knows how Sabora would have done had she not blew the engine, had she not had the engine problem in qualifying. She lost power, they told her to shut it off and everything. This was a rough showing for the West. It really was a rough showing. A really, really rough showing. And then with Koga and Souza getting in the way, hurting Sam Mayer's battle quest to gain ground on Cabry. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. Everybody knew that for years. So the West have one or two drivers that could make it national. And on the East, good 5 or 6 could. Look back to 2012. Anybody talking about the West drivers from 2012? 2011? Other than, no. The guys that were making the realms were in the East. And those were like Moffitt, Bubba Wallace, Corey LaJoie, and others. Sure, you had Dylan Kwasniewski, but look what Kwasniewski is now. Todd Gilliland, he owned the West those couple of years before Kraus jumped into the 16 car last year. He owned the West. Could have owned the East. Noah Gragson, too. Gragson may have some shelf life, but Gilliland right now, he's not shown it. And I put Gilliland in very high regard. Because I thought he was going to go into trucks, deliver, do what Tyler Ankrum is doing. What Tyler Ankrum did this season is what Todd should have been for Todd a year ago. Or this year. It's just not happened. And I don't know what to tell you. At this point, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the highlights, maybe this month period is what I need. Just to let it all digest and let it unfold, not really dwell on it. But I'm bringing you how I feel because nobody will talk about the West. Nobody. Nobody will. It's been a rough year for the West. There was some anticipation it's going to be a nail-biting title. But also at the same time, we all know, I knew if Kraus can polish up the bad luck, he's going to be unstoppable. He's been unstoppable for the lack of better term. He has been. And that shows him. That shows the raw competitive spirit he has. He's growing. He's growing to become a really well all-around racing driver that could have promised to maybe make the realms in the Cup Series someday within 5 years. This year's been rough. I'm not even considering the small fields. This just goes past the small fields. It's just where I see certain drivers' future. And these bad performances or bad luck will hurt some. It's hurting the couple already. It hurt a team. We've lost a team from the start of the year. Cody Vanderwall, when he was with Flying Dutchman a year ago, he swept Tusa. He was practically best of the rest, to use Formula One terms. McAnally and Son Rice are the equivalent of Mercedes and Ferrari. Vanderwall, wherever he goes, he's practically a McLaren of 2019. And I'm using McLaren because McLaren are best of the rest. A McLaren or not Red Bull, but more or less a McLaren. Or whatever, how you want to view it. Without Levine Racing, it's a bummer because Vanderwall is essentially a guy, put him in top equipment. He'll probably be a title contender. He'll probably get some more wins. He'll probably be up there to showcase that what he's done before was legitimate. He a guy to keep an eye on the future. Wouldn't that have been nice? Wouldn't it have been nice if he actually got the truck ride at a Mosport with Tyler Dipple, with Dipple suspended? No, they went with DJ Kennington, which understandably, I understand completely. But wouldn't that have been something for if that were to happen, Vanderwall were to ride a truck series? He has some truck experiences in the regional level. He does. But big picture, look, even before the season began, the top 3 were gone. Derek Thorne went to the super late models in the Southwest. Ryan Partridge has pretty much become a team member, driver, coach. Cole Rouse is nowhere to be found. Period. Nowhere to be found. And who knows why that might have been. Who knows? A year ago, he was one of the Spire contracted drivers. I still firmly believe Cole Roush can make a cup start for fucking Spire. And again, I apologize for the language, but at this point, you got to think about this stuff. When you look at it, the West compared to the East, throughout history, even when, the East, before it was the Bush North back in the day, within the Winston West, it's always been that way. Being from the West Coast and understanding now what's going on a little bit more by following this season alone, who knows who will carry the West after Krause and Deegan are gone? Jagger Jones? That's probably it. Jagger Jones. Unless Lawless Allen gets the nod for McAnally in the 16 or whoever. And we'll see how he does. We don't know how he'll do. We don't have much to rely on when it comes to those K&N races with Lawless Allen. But keep an eye on someone like him, or keep an eye on some that I haven't mentioned in a long time. 2020 is going to be a weird year for the West. I could tell you that. Whether Deegan is going to run another year or not. Whether Krause is going to run another year or not. And God knows what Samora's future holds. And same with the Sunrise Ford camp. Jones will probably be even stronger. We'll see. Boy, I said a lot in half an hour. Let's just kind of wrap it up here. Let's just wrap it up. Spencer Davis won at Gateway. Derek Krause finished second. He showcased that he had a good showing. He was quietly consistent, but at this point in the season, he doesn't have to be flashy or fancy. He's just going to have to, of course, win. If you go out for wins and just keep his nose out of trouble at this point of the season. It's just simple as that. But we're a month away from now for the next round of Meridian, where Hailie Deegan captured her maiden win when he did that bump over Cole Roush in turn number 1. I may do a retrospective of that Meridian race soon as an episode of West Coast Wednesday, which I haven't done a episode regarding. That has nothing to do with previews or reviews or vice versa. This just warrants its own episode. So with that being said, thank you for listening. Hopefully you understand and digest everything that I mentioned. And that's why it's called Raw and Emotion, because after everything that happened in Gateway, there's just a lot to say. There is a lot to say about this race at Gateway. So until we meet again, hopefully you enjoyed this rambling episode that is informative, and also just understand me from a fan point of view how frustrating it can be for those poor West drivers that just don't get a shot or haven't been given the shot to prove themselves. Next week will be the Evergreen highlights, and the week after will be Gateway. In the meantime, catch you guys later.